Come the 20th century, the situation had changed. Oil cats travelled and began drilling all over the world. In 1908, British geologist George Bernard Reynolds discovered petroleum in southeast Iran. His patrons subsequently formed the Anglo-Persian Oil Company and established exclusive rights for its exploration. In 1938, US geologist Max Steinecker discovered a source in Saudi Arabia. This similarly resulted in the creation of the Arabian-American Oil Company and US control. Come 1940, Western companies controlled an approximate 85% of global oil production, and whilst this worked out for them, it came at the expense of the region's inhabitants. In the late 40s and 50s, it dawned on the natives that the fixed royalties they were receiving were a fraction of the profits made by the companies. Western oilmen flew over to quell the unrest, and whilst they managed to secure a 50-50 profit-sharing agreement with Saudi Arabia, their appeals fell flat on Iran. The people of that country responded by appointing an eccentric minister by the name of Mohammad Mossadegh, who vowed to liberate the country by nationalizing the oil fields. Fearful of loss, America sent out their leading diplomat, Avril Harriman. It was his hope that the Iranians would agree to a compromise where they, the British, and the Americans would all take a share. But when he arrived, he was taken to the country's leading ayatollahs, who told him a story about a misguided Westerner who died whilst looking for oil. When Harriman returned, he advised against the Iranians, and come 1953, the Americans and British teamed up and launched a coup against the country's first ever democratic leader. With the return of the Shah, a new oil agreement was established which involved a consortium of international oil companies to manage Iranian oil. A 50-50 profit-sharing mechanism was also introduced, and for a while things calmed down, but no one had anticipated just how badly the people had taken this. In the aftermath of Mossadegh's overthrow, tensions between West and East began to deteriorate. Even the Gulf states, who remained relatively unscathed, were beginning to have doubts. In 1967, when the West showed support for Israel during the Six-Day War with Syria, Jordan, and Egypt, the Middle Easterners banded together through an organization of petroleum exporting countries to discuss how they could fight back. In October 1973, Egypt and Syria hit back, and the Gulf states aided them by launching an oil embargo on the West. Cars began piling outside gas stations. The price of oil began spiraling out of control. With the fate of the West in the palm of his hands, President Nixon sent out Henry Kissinger to deal with the problem. His Middle Eastern diplomacy saved the West from near enough catastrophe. But even Kissinger couldn't prevent that which was about to arrive. In 1979, after years of succumbing to ill-placed policies, the Iranian people revolted. They overthrew the Shah and appointed a radical cleric by the name of Ayatollah Khomeini. In a single move, he kicked out all the Western expatriates, expelled foreign oil companies that had been part of the consortium, and reasserted state control over the Iranian oil industry. Desperate to protect their interests, the West approached a loose cannon by the name of Saddam Hussein. As leader of Iraq, he attacked the Iranians, and between 1980 and 1988, the two countries engaged in a war that resulted in over 1 million deaths.
Over 1 million lives lost in the devastating Iran-Iraq War.
The price of oil more than quadrupled, and the international system which the West had hoped to bring the Middle East into looked in jeopardy. Come the 1990s, the situation looked doomed. Saddam had failed to take Iran, but as compensation, he suddenly turned on Kuwait in the hope of seizing their oil fields. While stalling Saddam with economic sanctions, President H.W. Bush assembled a multinational coalition consisting of the US, the UK, France, Saudi Arabia, Egypt and Kuwait. Germany, Japan and South Korea provided financial backing, and together they all smashed Iraq's military and pushed them out of Kuwait. After more than a century of hardship, a new globalist movement had formed. Iran had been lost. Saddam was still alive. But for the most part, oil had been integrated within a global system. A new set of rules were agreed to, and for the most part, countries were willing to jump onto the internationalist bandwagon, or at least they would be for the time being. What I have given you is a rapid-fire history of oil in the 20th century. There is so much more that I haven't included, but I would highly recommend Daniel Yergin's book, The Prize, The Epic Quest for Oil, Money and Power, for anyone wanting to know more about this fascinating history. If you haven't already, be sure to check out my epic mini-movie about how Kissinger solved the Arab-Israeli conflict. It gives you a much deeper look at the dark politics surrounding that issue. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, subscribe. World Order takes the globe's greatest figures and tells their stories in epic ways. So do make sure to hit the bell icon so that you never miss out on a single video. Thanks again, and I look forward to hearing from you all in the comments below.